and need our help the most. But from the very beginning, there was a lot of footage and a lot of things coming out from the Northern Territory, and even some of us in other states, me included. I was thinking,
Setting up the
really what's
tripod,
going
just
on here,
relax.
because there's a lot of misinformation and a lot of things. But the reality is that there were people taken against their will and put into quarantine camps. They don't have a choice in the matter. And it's interesting that I'm pretty sure back at the start there was a couple more, really horrible criminals that decided to break out of this facility, and the government fined them, I think, about $5,000. And these are people who are not wealthy, but in man's terms, by any means whatsoever. And so it's like, who's going to pay for these fines? And obviously, like, what does this achieve? If it really was about people's health, like, why are these sorts of extreme measures, and these fines taking place? But it's quite terrifying. There's a lot of rumor going around that there's forced vaccinations. Obviously, it depends on your definition of forced. I think most Australians right now are forced into vaccinations, whether that's coercion, threat of losing your livelihood, all of those sorts of things. And it's no different in the Northern Territory. You see people going out into these communities who are putting the fear of God into these people about what COVID is. People who don't maybe watch mainstream news. So the only interactions that they might be having about this is from people visiting the communities, and the people visiting the communities are terrifying them, and kind of not really giving them an informed choice with what they want to do. But yeah, it breaks my heart to think that this is happening in Australia. But as you said in the bit before, what's the next thing? Electric fences, barbed wire fences? I mean, what are they going to do? How far are they going to go with the use of force? Are they going to, with all of this? And that's the question you've got to ask. When does all of this outweigh the possibility that they might catch a cold? But it's very sad times.
Yeah, and there's the orc-looking creatures that monitor these quarantine camps. So, but again, though, they're treated like prisoners, so it's just my logical conclusion that eventually they're either going to electrify the fences or put barbed wire up. They can't have the prisoners escaping that easily. Or are they going to have firing squads, too? Maybe that's
They
it. They'll have
probably
outposts and a
will.
firing squad. You leap over that fence, they'll just put a bullet through your head. I mean, that's the logical conclusion, because they're already treating these people like prisoners, searching around like they've done some sort of crime, never committed a crime, not prisoners, but everyone's a prisoner in Australia now, I guess.
Yeah, we've gone from penal colony to penal colony in under 200 years. I think we've broken a record, but we're sort of trapped here. I'm still locked in my home being an unvaccinated person. It is nearing Christmas and I am still in my home. I cannot go to some shops still. I cannot get my hair done. I still am segregated in this two-tiered society. And
How the fuck is this happening?
apparently we're supposed to get our freedoms back, December 15, but I don't trust the government. They haven't followed through with anything.
Joke.
And this moronic strain of virus, whatever they call it, has just come at the most convenient of timings, as they've told us they're going to open up for us, uncircumcised heathens over here who chose not to get the jab. And then you've got states like Queensland only the last few days actually, who've decided to now mandate the vaccinations for school teachers and different industries up there. So it's not over by any means in Australia. And this is the time where we can't get complacent, because our state of emergency in New South Wales and in a lot of other states is due to expire. And once it's due to expire, they're probably going to have to manufacture something to justify them extending that again so that they can maintain their control. So it's certainly encouraging seeing so many people, take to the streets and do these fights, but it is not over by a long shot. Over here for Australians, we are still in for the fight of our lives to get our freedoms back from this tyrannical government that we have.
And of course, the odds makers would say, bet on the lockdown extending past December 15th. And by the way, I came across this and I found this hilarious. My crew and I were having a good laugh. Individuals have noticed that, and then my crew kind of did a little research on their own just to triple confirm it. But a couple people noticed how when you see images of the quarantine prisons, the prison camps, the quarantine centers in Australia, there's always what the mainstream media uses and what gets promoted on social media is all these Instagram models. And so I've got these dozens of images here. It's Instagram models, half naked, you know, posing in their underwear, posing in their
hot
bikinis.
chicks in the quarantine
and this is all
camp.
promoting the COVID camps.
Fuck that.
And one individual, Leo Biddle, actually went and showed the mainstream media. So not just the social media posts that get promoted. They're probably paid to promote the vaccine and other things. So yeah, they show their boobs and ass, and then they promote it and they get paid to do it. But then the mainstream news does the same thing, and they just pull these images of women, or they pull these images of like guys having fun at the quarantine camps, and so it becomes this new level of propaganda. You think you're going to like a sandals resort. It's like, oh, I'm going to go to a sandals resort. I'm going to meet my new wife. Wow, everyone there's good looking. And you get there and it's a bunch of orcs walking around in hazmat suits feeding you, some sort of gruel.
I think the fact that they have to sell it obviously is a good indication that it in itself can't sell on its own. It looks like some like Bachelor, sort of reality TV.
No, exactly.
series,
I mean,
Love
they're
Island.
literally using sex to sell a quarantine prison for you.
Oh, absolutely. And it's embarrassing, isn't it? I think I saw mainstream news a chick in a pink bikini
I'll say something in a
G-string, and it was her backside that was like splashed on the mainstream news, and you just got to shake your head at it. If you don't laugh, you'll cry.
Yeah, and the reality is you're sitting inside this like cubicle all day. You get a boxed meal if you're lucky. You're not allowed to even talk to anybody. People walk around in hazmat suits. Soon they're going to be putting up barbed wire outside your door. But it's a sandals resort, guys.
The purpose of
So I don't even know what that lady's name was. There's so many Australians on all these interviews in our alternative media that I listen to, that I don't even know what her name is. I just randomly turn on Owen Schroyer. Y'all seasick yet? I just randomly turn on Owen Schroyer, and it's now more news from Australia. And I'm out here today. I took a day off work. Oh, I got a visitor. So some sort of bug that we have that looks like a ladybug, but I'm told is not. I took off today because we're installing solar stuff here in my house. And I'm installing a bonus circuit right here for my well that's not on the original plans, but hey, there's a trench there, so we're going to sneak a wire in there. But, so I'm listening to the radio, and it's just non-stop. Everything Australia, which is great. And he was playing, I'm inside broadcasting it out here, legally. This is satire. And I'm listening to it out here, and I went inside and actually watched the video, and he's showing the video of all the protests in Australia. And it finally really clicked in my head. I haven't had time since I've been working to sit down and really on a big screen, not on my phone with grease all over it while I'm under a truck, but really look at it on a nice, my big monitor I have inside. And it just really hit me I'm so proud of y'all for having the balls to go break the law to fight these bastards, because a lot of people won't. So I don't even want to make this video about me, what I'm doing. I'm just this is why I'm not driving around. This is an in-phase, in-charge 10 whatever kilowatt battery pack that they're putting in for me, and this is the thing that switches between grid power and all this. This is called the smart switch. This is all the techno babble, but anyway. That's why I'm off today. I'm doing this because I think they're going to turn the fucking power off, probably like they did in the Soviet. I mean, you know what the fuck's going on. You don't need me to tell you why these people aren't going to keep the lights on. But I don't want it to be about me. But I'm out here having a couple of beers, having a good time. I wish I had an esky to keep them in, but maybe one of y'all could send me an esky. I think... that would be great. You know how YouTube people have their plaques of this is my gold, however many. I want a viewer sent me an esky cooler. That's what I want. Maybe if I can get, I don't know what I would do. I'm sure somebody could send me one. That they won't block deportations of exports of Eskies, right? That's not illegal yet. But anyway, having a couple of beverages, digging this trench all day, and listening to this shit, and I walk inside and actually look at it. Like most of the media I consume is I'm just listening to it because I'm driving, working, nonstop working. But to see it and just the mass of people and the diversity of people, although I don't think like a leftist and use their terminology, but like that's the world now. So to see a diverse group of people who the race techno bullshit, techno babble, brainwashing doesn't work on, that unite against the tyrannical dictatorship, is very comforting to me as an American, because I'm very disgusted with most Americans right now, and it might be unjustified, but I feel like we're not doing enough. So to see someone, I think the fact that we're so heavily armed here is like a crutch. Gotta see how much time I got left here. Okay. We're gonna call you back later. That's the boss. We'll call you back in a minute. I think the fact that we're so heavily armed here is like a psychological crutch for people, because we're just so used to, well, that wouldn't happen here, so because of that, so we don't like recognize that, well, it is happening somewhere where they don't have them, so you need to be more active about it, because, you know, like, I'm not making these videos because I want to like be like David Hasselhoff of Australia, like some weird American that's famous down there. I don't care about views and shit. I genuinely give a shit that these psychopaths are testing their shit on y'all. And we should be, the United States should be, if the United States was what the archetype of the United States was, we should be intervening and stopping it. But we're controlled by the same people that are in control there. They just have to use a different strategy against us because we're armed. So it's good that it staves it off, but it's bad in the sense that no one entertains the idea that what could happen in Australia could happen here. But I mean, like I said, I may be wrong. I'm not exposed to like that's part of the dividing us and the lockdowns and the social isolation and filtering everything all of our communications, because like I don't know that everyone thinks that way, so I can't say everyone's like that, so I assume more people believe this bullshit, but I know a big part of the psychological warfare is, and I'm getting dry mouth like a motherfucker. I know that a big part of the psychological warfare is making us think that we're alone in seeing what's going on. So it may not even be that bad. I got to take that call, but thank you for fighting the New World Order. Back to work.